Hello everyone, a very pleasant day to you. President Tinubu presents 58.18 trillion naira 2026 budget proposal for National Assembly. House of Representatives Speaker Abbas urges federal government to prioritize jobs, realistic spending in 2026. And 11 Nigerian released soldiers aircraft fly to Ghana, reroute to Portugal. A very good day to you and welcome to Fastness News Port Harcourt. I am Becky Osoro. And now the news in full. President Bola Tinubu has presented a budget proposal of 58.18 trillion naira for the 2026 fiscal year to a joint section of the National Assembly, with capital recurrent non-debt expenditure standing at 15.25 trillion naira. President Tinubu presented the budget purging the capital expenditure at 26.8 trillion naira and putting the crude oil benchmark at $64.85 per barrel. The president said the expected total revenue is 34.33 trillion naira, 15.52 trillion naira for debt servicing, and the budget deficit is 23.85 trillion naira, representing 4.28% of GDP. He explained that the proposal was anchored on a crude oil production of 1.84 million barrels per day and an exchange rate of 1,400 naira to US dollar for the 2026 fiscal year. Terms of sector allocation, defense and security took the lion's share with 5.4 trillion naira, followed by infrastructure at 3.56 trillion naira. Education received 3.52 trillion naira, while health received 2.48 trillion naira in the proposal titled Budget of Consolidation, Renewed Resilience and Shared Prosperity. Addressing the lawmakers, President described the budget proposal as not just accounting lines and cautioned governors that he may be forced to issue an executive order to enforce direct allocation to local governments if they fail to comply with the Supreme Court's ruling affirming financial autonomy for Nigeria's third tier of government. Away from that story, meanwhile, reaction has strayed from the People's Democratic Party faulting President Bola Tinubu's 2026 budget proposal, describing it as a budget of consolidated renewed sufferings. A statement by its spokesman, Ini Ememabong, says the budget falls short in tackling widespread poverty, rise in living costs, and insecurity. He explained that the president stated that the economy under his watch grew by 3.98% without stating the sector that stimulated the growth or identifying those who benefited from it. According to him, the figure reflects economic decline the nation has suffered under the leadership of the APC-led federal government, who compared to the growth rate of 6.87% recorded in 2013 same period. Under the last PDP administration, which was driven largely by non-oil sectors such as agriculture and trade. Moving on, in another development, President Bola Tinubu has cautioned governors that he may be forced to issue an executive order to reinforce direct allocations to local governments if they fail to comply with the Supreme Court's ruling affirming financial autonomy for Nigeria's third tier of government. President Tinubu gave the warning during the 15th National Executive Committee meeting of the All Progressive Congress APC at the State House Conference Center, Abuja. Addressing the NEC members comprising governors, National Working Committee members, and other party leaders, the president said the Supreme Court has curbed it for you again, saying give them their money directly. The Supreme Court had, on July 11, 2024, ruled in favor of the federal government's suit seeking to reinforce financial independence for local governments. The court ordered the direct payment of allocations from the federation account to local governments, a practice provided for in Section 162, 5-8 of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, but widely floated by most state governments through joint accounts. The 7-member panel of the Apex Court declared that it was unconstitutional for state governments to retain or manage funds meant for local councils. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has stressed the need for the federal government to provide jobs for teeming Nigerians and open up for more opportunities for them to realize their dreams in 2026. Abbas made a call in his closing remarks at the joint section of the National Assembly on the presentation of the 2006 budget proposal by President Bola Tinubu, describing 2025 as a year of challenging global conditions and fiscal headwinds. The Speaker called for more realistic revenue projects and project execution in subsequent budget cycles. He stressed that the outgoing year recorded stability, renewed confidence, and steady progress, adding that the economy weathered a period of adjustment and is now repositioning itself for sustained expansion. The Speaker called for sober reflection on what went wrong in 2025, urging the government to pick up some lessons to guide its management of resources and project execution in 2026. He commended President Tinubu for his bold economic policies, stressing that gains have been recorded in the past few months and lauded his move to end multiple budgets running concurrently. Away from that story, the Nigerian police force has said it has not been served with any judgment or court order directing it to stop the enforcement of the motor vehicle tinted glass permit policy in a suit reportedly instituted by Mr. Senior Advocate of Nigerian, Solunkule Edun. A Delta State High Court issued an ex-parte injunction restraining the Inspector General Police and the Nigerian Police Force from resuming the enforcement of the tinted glass permit policy nationwide. In granting the order, Justice Joe Egu also barred the police from harassing, arresting, detaining or extorting citizens and motorists on account of the policy. The order followed the suit filed at the Delta State High Court by the applicant Israel Joe through his lawyers, led by Kunle Edun, after the police announced the resumption of the enforcement, which had been suspended in October. Moving on, 11 Nigerian soldiers and their aircraft have taken off from Burkina Faso following their release after 10 days in detention. The spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimiebi Ebienfan, who disclosed this to newsmen in Abuja, lauded the Embassy of Nigeria in Burkina Faso and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Abuja. He further revealed that the aircraft would first fly to Ghana before rerouting to Portugal, and it was not granted permission to fly over Malian airspace. The soldiers have been detained after their aircraft made an unscheduled landing in Bobo Dioulasso on December 8 due to a technical issue shortly after departing Lagos en route to Portugal. Moving on, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has issued an aerodrome certificate to the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria for the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport, Kano, as well as the Port Harcourt International Airport, marking what officials described as a significant boost to aviation safety and regulatory compliance in the country. The certificates were presented to FAN at a formal ceremony held in Kano. Speaking at the event, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the FAN, Olubumi Kuku, expressed appreciation to the NCAA, describing the development as a landmark achievement for Nigeria's aviation sector. Kuku, in her speech, stressed that the certification exercise went beyond the routine regulatory requirements, noting that it will underscore resilience, dedication, and the shared commitment to global aviation safety standards. According to her, the journey to certification was rigorous, involving multiple inspections, detailed technical evaluations, and continuous engagement through corrective action notices exchanged between the regulator and the airport operator. And on the foreign scene, the U.S. says its military has carried out a massive strike against the Islamic State group in Syria in response to a deadly attack on American forces in the country. The U.S. Central Command said fighter jets, attack helicopters, and artillery struck more than 70 targets at multiple locations across central Syria. Aircrafts from Jordan were also involved. It said the operation employed more than 100 precision munitions targeting known its infrastructure and weapon sites. President Donald Trump said his strike against a strongholds follows the 13 December ambush in the city of Palmyra in which 2 U.S. soldiers and a U.S. civilian interpreter were killed. Away from that story, Russian President Vladimir Putin has said there will be no more wars in Ukraine if his country is treated with respect, and dismisses claims that Moscow is planning to attack European countries as nonsense. In a televised event lasting almost 4.5 hours, he was asked by whether there would be new special military operations, Putin stands for full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Earlier this month, Putin said Russia was not planning to go to war with Europe, but was ready right now if Europeans wanted to. He has long accused NATO of going back on an alleged 1990 Western promise to then-Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev before the fall of the Soviet Union. He later denied the remark had been made. And on sports, Ruben Amorim believes Manchester United can win the Premier League far sooner than the 10 or 11 years that Alex Ferguson fears it could take. The Red Devils have failed to add to their 20 English League titles since the squad bowled out the championship in 2013. Recently told newsmen that he felt United are now in the same situation as Liverpool, where when they went 30 years without winning the title, the club great said it could be 10 years, 11 years until the Premier League trophy returns to Old Trafford, but Amorim is confident it would not take that long. United are 6th in the Premier League table ahead of Sunday's match against third-place Aston Villa after an inconsistent season so far. Amorim was also asked at a pre-match press conference for his reaction to comments given by Bruno Fernandes to Portuguese media, in which the club captain said United had wanted to sell him in the summer transfer window. To end the news, a recap of some of the major stories. President Tinubu has presented 58.18 trillion naira 2026 budget proposal to the National Assembly, and also brought to you that House of Representatives Speaker Abbas has urged the federal government to prioritize jobs and realistic spending in 2026. We also brought to you a report that 11 Nigerian police soldiers and their aircraft have taken off to Ghana and reroute to Portugal. That's all of the news this hour. I am Becky Usoro. Many thanks for watching. Bye for now.